Welcome to Passionate and Practical, the art of dreaming, doing, and serving. I'm your host, Lexi, and I'm so excited about today's episode. We are here with Christa Hutchins. She is the creator of Do a New Thing, which is a consulting agency. She does coaching, she has a masterminds group, and she is really passionate about accountability. So let me introduce you to her. Christa, welcome.
Hi, Lexi. I'm so glad to be here with you today. I appreciate you taking time to talk to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Christa and I met over Instagram and we got to chat a few weeks back and just hit it off immediately. So I'm so excited for you to hear about what she's doing. Christa, why are you so passionate about business and accountability and young women in ministry?
Well, as I served in volunteer ministry, with women, I found that a lot of women had really great, big, audacious dreams and plans of things they wanted to do for God, that God had given them a calling, a vision, a passion to do really amazing things. But they were frustrated and overwhelmed by all the things that they could do. That was just too many choices, too many voices speaking into them, just too much to get their heads around. And I literally came across too many women who told me that they sat at their computer in tears because they didn't know what to do next. And I knew that my background as an engineer and project manager, all those things that swirl around and confuse and frustrate a lot of people, in my brain, they're just like little toy soldiers standing in a row waiting for their turn to do their thing. And so I knew that I could offer help for women to take those big, crazy, messy ideas and create a plan around them and offer some accountability so they could actually get them done and not be so frustrated that they gave up on the big dream that God had. It just made me sad to see them giving up. And so I wanted to be able to help them finish. And so that's where I put most of my focus right now.
That's terrific. And honestly, when we talked a few weeks back, I was like, I need these services in my life because I am pretty self-motivated and I've got a few people that are pouring into me in different ways. But what you offer is really unique in this masterminds group that you have, that has these tools from your professional background that you just learned over the years, and you have kind of collided these two worlds of corporate job with ministry, and how have those kind of collided, and how have you just seen God work through that element, and what are you excited about for the way that all of your experience is now helping young women with their job ideas or their work in their new dreams that they have?
Well, in honesty, for a long time, I thought of them as very separate and compartmentalized worlds. I had my business professional world. I was project manager for an engineering company, and I led, major projects, international projects, multiple offices, and a lot of people. And so I had that world. And then over in another place, I had my ministry world, my volunteer work, even the beginnings of my Do a New Thing business, felt a lot like ministry because I was really just serving God's girls to learn how to better serve them. And so for a long time, they were really very separate. And then just in the last year and a half or so, God's began to show me how He was using all of that corporate experience to prepare me for serving His girls, that they're not two different things. It's really all the same things. And so it's been really fun to take the language of project management that I use every day in my work and begin to apply that to ministry and dreams and entrepreneurship for women of all ages, young women and older women. I've got several of both in the group. So we approach things a little bit differently than some of the maybe fluffier language than people hear. It is kind of a corporate feel. We talk about lessons learned. We talk about change management. We talk about communication plans. I take the language of my professional world and apply it to God's work. And I also always am headed back into scripture to find out how were those same principles used in the Bible. I mean, Noah was one of the world's very first project managers. God gave him a major project to manage, and you can go through and see all of the aspects of good project management in what Noah did. So we go back into the Bible and find out how can we learn from scripture to apply these principles to our current businesses and dreams. So it's been really fun to see people experience new terminology, but also to experience God's word in a way that they haven't done before.
That's fantastic. I love that. I love that you've seen God's hand in all of it. And so often we can think that some of our work is in vain, and it never is. God always has a way to bring it back and to highlight it in a way that says, here, this was for this purpose and this reason. And I've had a few jobs that I have not loved, and I've just seen the way that God has helped me with the experience that I've gained and the knowledge that I've gained from those experiences in a way that can, serve the kingdom. And so it's really cool that you are able to do that currently in your work. And I'm sure that it gives you a new appreciation for your work too, because as you're going through these new projects and in your job, you're thinking, how can I serve God's girls through this, which is so awesome. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, your family, where you live, and a little bit more about the work you're doing both corporately and ministry-wise.
So I live in Southeast Louisiana with my husband, and we have two grown children who are out of the house, and they are responsible adults contributing to society in their own ways. So that's good. So we have an empty nest. I work in the engineering and construction management field. My assignment right now, I'm working in Houston. And so I'm in Houston during the week, and then I come home on the weekends, which gives me a little bit of time during the week when I'm there by myself to work on my business and to work with clients. So I've been doing Do a New Thing for almost 4 years now, and have really enjoyed serving God's girls in the way that God's gifted me to do. And that's been really cool because, sometimes we feel like our gifts, our corporate gifts, our professional gifts are not necessarily applicable to God's work. We think that really that's just like preaching and teaching and maybe life coaching and maybe writing a Christian book or something like that are all different ways that we can serve God. Maybe leading a youth ministry or something like that, but our corporate skills may not really translate to God's work. But it's been really cool to see how God has used so much that I've learned at work and so much I've experienced at work to serve in ministry and in business. But it's also been a bit of a challenge too, to kind of keep it all balanced and keep it a bit segregated so I can make sure that I'm giving my best at work when I'm at work and giving my best to my ministry and business when I'm not at work.
I love that. So tell us a little bit more about the different elements of Do a New Thing between accountability and coaching and your masterminds group.
So I do two main things. I do one-on-one coaching. Accountability coaching is really what has been the thing I've done the most of lately. And what I find is that women just a lot of times just need someone, number one, to validate their ideas. They need to say, hey, I've got these two things that are both really good things, and I think this is the one I'm supposed to pursue, but I'm not sure. They just need someone to bounce that off of and someone to say, yeah, I think go that direction. I know I'm like that. I've just started working with a business and branding coach, and it has been so valuable for me to have someone just help me close that door on a decision and not look back, even though, and maybe it really didn't even matter which one of the two good things I chose. No matter which one I chose, I was always going to doubt whether I chose the right one. And so having someone coaching me through, helping me close that door and move forward with this, with what I'm going to do has been so valuable. So I enjoy offering that kind of coaching to women. Most of the ones I work with are communicators, so they're writers and speakers, bloggers. I also work with a lot of ministry leaders who are developing ministries either in their church or parachurch organizations. And so what we do is we meet once a month in an accountability call, and we talk through their plans and what's going on in the next month, and we make a plan for that month. And then every week I follow up with a personal email to them, checking in on how they did on their plans and what's happening and what went well, what didn't, what needs to be adjusted, and then we get together again the next month. So I've had people tell me many times that, just knowing you were going to check in on me, just knowing I was going to have to report back to you on what I did has motivated me to get up and do it. And so if I can provide that kind of service for someone, I think that's adding value to their ministry. So that's what the accountability coaching is about. And I also do kind of within that, I do some leadership coaching, and I can do some project management, help them get a project organized and ready to execute. So we kind of roll all of that into that coaching. And then the other main thing that I have is it's called the Move Forward Mastermind. It's a 12-week program where I take my project management skills and principles, and every week we have a training on one of those things. And so it's really built around helping you develop good habits in setting goals, creating plans, evaluating how you're doing it, evaluating what's working, evaluating what's not, and then putting some other tools in your toolkit to help you deal with change, help you manage your risks, help you evaluate your resource needs. So all of that is training you get over the 12 weeks. So the mastermind has 3 goals. One is the training. The second is accountability. We require everyone in the mastermind to check in on Monday and say what they're going to do that week, what's on their plans. And then at the end of the week, they have to check in and say what they actually did. And it's not one of those things like in some maybe Facebook groups or other places you see where, they might check in on Monday, but nobody ever follows up to see if you actually did it. We actually have myself and some other Move Forward mentors who are going to come hunt you down if you don't report in on how you did. So we have a saying, no Move Forward friends left behind. So we don't let anybody hide. So the training, the accountability, and then the community. We have right now around 17 people in the group. People who have been through the original 12 weeks actually stay in the group if they want to help the people coming behind them. And it's just this really great sharing and supporting of one another. It's not all about me looking at your plans and saying whether they're good enough or not. It's a community of people who are helping you, offering opinions, encouraging you, supporting you, and not letting you get left behind. So it's been really beautiful to me how the community has developed within the group. I'm really seeing that going strong now, and I really appreciate everyone who is in there to encourage one another and not let it be all about them either. The important thing about accountability relationships is that they're reciprocal. I need you and you need me. And if I don't show up for you, I'm hurting you. And if you don't show up for me, you're hurting me. And so when we're in accountability relationships with each other, the community part is important because we need to be there for each other.
That's fantastic. And when I spoke with you a couple weeks back, my immediate thought was, wow, I need this. And I, as someone who hopes to influence and inspire and spur women on to greatness in their calling and what God has for them, I sometimes forget that in order to pour into others, I have to be poured into. And so that's what this podcast is all about, is pouring into you so you can pour into others. And so I was reminded through our conversation that, wow, I need something like this. And I'm excited to have connected. And if you are thinking that, as a listener, if you are thinking, wow, this sounds like me, I've started something and I just need some motivation, or I need a community and I need that accountability. We all have, I think January comes, and for, at least for me, I feel very jazzed up in January. I am pumped. I am like, all my goals are set and I'm going to do this thing this year and all this. And then I hit March and I'm like, can I even survive today? Because I have a 15-month-old and I'm pregnant, and all of these random things that kind of come up that aren't in our, what we thought our year would look like. And so something like this is just really grounding, and I love the part about community. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, the amazing thing is we are doing a giveaway from this episode for a 1-month accountability package. It's a 45-minute coaching session and 4 follow-up personal emails, and it's $100 value. So if you are interested, go to doanewthing.com/passionate. And also Christa has an accountability quiz, which is a great free resource to just kind of gauge where you need to be accountability wise. So I'll mention that again in the end of the episode, and I will also put it in the show notes. So you're welcome to go and pause and do that right now, or you can wait till the end and we'll remind you about this. But I just think that it's such a great value added opportunity for the listeners, because we're always giving practical tips and practical advice and things like that. But I love that Christa said, hey, I want to offer your listeners an opportunity for a giveaway. So thank you so much for doing that. And I can't wait to hear the amazing encouragement that comes from that. So what is some of your advice for someone that is looking to start a small business or a ministry, or looking to be an influencer as a kingdom-minded person? What does that look like?
I think you have to start with having a really clear idea of 2 things. One is a clear idea of your message, what's unique about you, and what special value do you bring to the message that's on your heart. And then second is you need to understand who you're targeting and what their struggles and what their pain points are. And then you marry those 2 things and look at how does what you offer meet the needs of that person that you view as your target audience. I think, especially again, because I work with a lot of writers, they tend to they have a story they want to share. God's done something really, really amazing in their life. So let's say that they've overcome cancer. They were diagnosed with cancer. They had, very, very bad diagnosis, and God came in and did a miracle, and He healed them from cancer. That's a very awesome, inspiring story, but only people who have had cancer can relate to that. And so if I'm sharing that story, and that's what I'm all about, is sharing that story, people can get some encouragement from that, but it's not the same as if I share that story and I say, this is how I felt. Boy, when I had that diagnosis, I was afraid. I was afraid for my children. I was afraid for what was going to happen to my children if I died. I was worried about our family's finances. Well, now your audience can identify to that. They can identify to those feelings. They can identify to those fears. They can identify with worrying about their children. And so when your focus is on your audience, what am I providing to them, instead of your focus being on what am I sharing about me, then it becomes more impactful. And so whether what you're offering is a product or a service or writing or whatever it is, if it's focused on them instead of focusing on you, that's going to be more powerful, and it's going to connect quicker and better, and it's going to stick. You're going to develop people who say, hey, she gets me. She gets my feelings. She gets my struggles, and I'm going to stick with her because she's all about me. She's all about serving me and helping things be better for me. So that's my first thing. If you're looking to start, is being very clear on your message and your audience and how those two things come together.
I love it. I think that is so important. And Donald Miller has a Story Brand podcast, and sometimes he talks about it's this concept of making your client or your customer or whoever's following you the hero. And so it's all about value added things, whether it's a product or a service or a podcast or something, whatever you're doing in life, in order to have people follow you, you have to add value to them, because everyone has only, so much time on their schedule to take time and pay attention to certain things. And so in order to really captivate an audience, there's a what's in it for me element. And that's what I really hope with this podcast is it's not just a conversation, but there's something that people can take away, tangible takeaways that someone's like, wow, that encouraged me in this way, whether it's a step closer to their relationship with God, or a practical tip that helps them be a better mom or a better entrepreneur. These are things that matter. So I love that part of your business and how you encourage women in that way. So we talk a little bit about accountability and coaching and the mastermind groups. So why, let's just kind of reiterate, why is that so important for success? And what do you see someone that's just doing it on their own versus someone that is in a group like you have to offer?
I think if you're trying to do it on your own, the biggest thing is you just get all up inside your own head. And that's a scary place for me. I don't know about anybody else, but all up in my head is very scary because there's just so many things going around in there. And like I said before, you often just need someone, number one, someone to validate that your idea is good, or give you the honesty to say, hey, that's not a great idea. Let's look at it this way. We talk in the mastermind a lot about offering ourselves and each other tough grace. And what that means is that, we understand that life happens, and sometimes you don't get everything on your to-do list done, and you things just don't go the way you had planned for the week. But at the same time, we care enough about you and your calling to not let you begin to use that as an excuse. So we offer you grace, but we also put some toughness behind it so that we don't let you just get away with hiding. And so I think that's the biggest difference, because when you're trying to do it alone, nobody else sees what didn't get checked off your list. People on the outside may look at what you're doing and see that you're making progress, and they think, oh, you're doing great. I don't need to check on her. I don't need to see about her. She's doing great. But on your own side, what chaos is going on behind there, because you're not organized. You're not doing the most important things. You're doing some things, but not what really matters. Having a community to work within really helps you stay motivated and focused on the important things. I read a study recently that they did. It said that people who are in encouraging, accountable environments are 64% more likely to stick with their goals and plans than people who are not. And so for me, I'm going with the 64%. I need every help I can get to get where God's called me to go. And so I'm sticking with those 64% who are in accountable environments and making progress.
That is a great statistic, and I believe it. And I have recently, over the past month, just been really gifted with just these relationships with other podcasters. And it's been so neat for us to grow from each other just by conversations or texting or talking through Messenger on Instagram. It's just been so encouraging to watch what they're doing, not have a necessarily this thought that we're competing, but we can encourage one another. We can help one another. There's things that I know about Instagram that someone might not know about, and vice versa. And I just learned from someone I just recorded with that when you go live on Instagram, someone can request to be a part of your live video. And that was something that I didn't know that Instagram had to offer. And so we had a live video together talking about our episodes that we did. And so it was just really encouraging. And I think there is so much power in we are better together. And it's biblical. Like, as you talk about biblical principles, it's biblical to do life with one another. And I think the same goes not only just in life for a small group or a Bible study, but also in business. And I think that for me, podcasting has really taught me a lot, and I'm so thankful for it. But sometimes it can be lonely to have a personal brand and not be a part of a larger organization. And so the downside of that is that there is more time where I'm just alone, but in the season of life where I'm at home with my little one, I've got a short window of time when I can work on this stuff. And so it's the perfect thing for me right now, but it is tough when I don't have someone to bounce these ideas off of. So it's just an incredible opportunity for, like you said, accountability and to get closer to our goals and to have people that we can bounce our ideas off of. And I love that the topic of tough grace and how do we share and extend, how can I help you reach this goal? Or instead of just allowing them to say, oh yeah, I didn't get to it. Well, why didn't you get to it? And then maybe there's a lesson to be learned through that process, or there is a teachable moment that the rest of the group can learn from, or people can pitch in for, time blocking tools or how to better prioritize our calendars and things like that. So I just see so much value in what you are doing, and I can only imagine that you have so many stories that have come from success. So are there any stories that come to mind when you think of someone who maybe reluctantly stepped into this and knew that, there's a financial, it's a financial ask. So it's someone that is willing to invest in their business and in their dream financially. So what has just a success story been?
Yeah, I have a couple, but one of my favorites that I'm working with right now is a woman named Janet, and she's a writer, and she's been through some really rough times. She's from Louisiana like I am, so she's a Katrina survivor. She's she's experienced divorce, she's experienced some rough things in her kids' lives. And so she had been writing for 10 years. And so she and I connected, and we started with one-on-one coaching, and then she eventually joined the mastermind as well. And we, after about 3 or 4 months, I finally realized, like, Janet, you have all these things started. Like, every time we would talk, she's like, oh, I'm going to start this. Oh, I'm going to start this. Oh, I've started this. And then I was like, Janet, you've got to finish something. You just have to finish, get something over the finish line. And so we did. And we had one little thing she needed to finish, and it was an email opt-in. And it was a 7-day email series of devotions. So she finished that, and she said, I think I've got some more to say about this. And so she started writing some more, and she ended up with like 32 devotions that would be perfect for a devotional book. And so along this way, it was really cool how once she made the commitment to finish, God began to bring all the different resources together that she was going to need, because she didn't know anything about publishing a book or self-publishing a book. And God began to bring together for her the team of people that she would need to do that. And so this week, she's turned in her finished manuscript to the self-publishing boutique publisher who's going to help her get her book out into the world. And she's going to do something that she's been wanting to do for 10 years because she just needed someone to tell her, Janet, you got to finish something. And so that was been a really neat experience to walk along with her. And then just this morning, I think this is this is one of my favorite, just kind of little moments, little successes. This morning, one of the things we do in the mastermind is we have 2 group calls over the 12 weeks, where we do like a Zoom meeting and have everybody on there who can attend. And we were talking about different things about goals and planning. And one of the girls asked a question, and I answered it and kind of gave her some advice. And she got really quiet, and I was afraid. I thought, oh gosh, have I hurt her feelings? Have I offended her? And I said, are you okay? She said, yeah, I'm okay. And then we went on with the meeting. And then near the end, she came back and she said, you know why I got quiet is because it was just funny. She said, you said to me exactly what God has been saying to me.
Wow.
And it was like God said, okay, if you won't listen to me, maybe you'll listen to her if I speak through her. And it wasn't anything planned I had to say. Definitely one of those times where I'm just, listening and letting God lead as I speak. And it wasn't a planned thing that I said to her. But that was a really cool success for me to know that God's using me to speak into his girls, things that we may not, we don't always know if it's from God, and we don't know. But when God can use me to confirm something that he's already saying to someone, and they can recognize that, to me, that's a cool moment, a cool success.
That's beautiful. Both of those stories are fantastic. And it's just such a reminder that we as women, we need each other. We need each other in motherhood. We need each other in ministry. We need each other in all that life has to throw at us. And so it just makes things doable, right? Because I think that 2 of the strongest words in the Christian language are me too, and just saying I'm with you. So either me too, I've been there, or I'm with you and I'm not leaving your side. I think that that's exactly what this group is that you have created, and what an encouraging and something just to be so proud of. I'm sure that it's like watching, this is your baby. This project is your baby, but also I'm sure all of these businesses and these dreams are also things that you think of, like, wow, this is something that I'm watching this person fly because of this thing that I felt like, you were obedient to what God had called you to. So tell us a little bit more about your faith and how your faith has kind of shaped this vision for you, and how has God kind of spoken to you, and what was the genesis of him speaking this to you, and how has he followed you along in this journey?
Well, I grew up in a Christian home, and I've been in church pretty much all my life. And I went through I don't want to say it's normal, but typical, I guess, kind of college age, high school age of kind of stepping away from following him really obediently. And then it was kind of funny. During that time, God brought a mentor to me. He kind of got my attention through some things, and I began going to a church, and God began to develop a relationship between me and another college girl who was a year older than me, I think. But and she began discipling me, and she really poured into me, poured her faith into me, and helped me learn how to study God's word really seriously, how to hear from God, and how to discern where God, wanted me to go. And so we're still in touch today. I actually talked to her last week. And so after all these years, she's still an important voice to me, and I enjoy speaking in with her as well. So I think my faith journey even started with some accountability and some mentoring and some coaching, even though back in those days, we didn't know that's what it was called. And so, I've continued to work in my church as my kids were growing up. I volunteered in church, and I did mission trips, and I did youth groups and all that kind of stuff. And then when my kids got out of school, I got out of the house, I started asking God, what's next? What do you want me to do next, God? And where do you want me to go? And after at that point, 20 years or so in a male dominated field of work, I was very comfortable around being the only female in the room, being very comfortable around big groups of men, but not so much with women. And so I was shocked when God led me to serve in women's ministry for a large online Bible study ministry with Proverbs 31 Ministries. And so I began serving as a volunteer group leader in online Bible studies, and then eventually on the leadership team with them. And it's just been really cool how God has grown my faith through that, and how he's given me confidence, because that was the first place that I really could see God using my gifts and skills that I thought were maybe a little bit less than. I don't have the flowery words. I don't have the sweet hospitality spirit and all that. I'm a little harder around the edges because of my time in engineering and my the way that I think so logically and straight. But God put me in a place under a fantastic leader who nurtured that and saw that that's something that was valuable to the kingdom. And so I just really grew in my faith through serving with Proverbs 31. And then I just began to see, but I guess that kind of helped me see how God is interested in every detail of what we do. And that's why it's so important to me in what I teach and what I train on, is to always go back to Scripture, because I think God has shown me that sometimes he doesn't really care about which decision we make. Like, say you're doing graphics for a blog post or something, and you don't know whether you want to use Canva or PicMonkey. God doesn't care whether you use Canva or PicMonkey. Mm-hmm. He cares about how you make that decision. He cares about, he cares about how you use your resources. Which one is going to be the best use of my resources? Which one is going to be the easiest for me to use? He cares about how you make your decisions, and he cares about every little decision we make. And that's where my faith has deepened, in letting God into all of those places that we think that God doesn't care about. We're really good at going to the Bible usually for advice about our relationships, for advice about our family, for what does God say, about, prodigal children or whatever, but we're not so great at going to God's word about what does God say about my business? What does God say about how I treat my customers? What does God say about whether I should grow my business in this area or that area? God cares about all those things, and he's given us the tools in his word to make those decisions, because he's given us all the tools we need to make good decisions in his word. And so that's kind of how my faith journey has affected my business journey. And where I am now, I'm kind of on the other side of a lot of the struggles that women work with. I'm an empty nester, and I'm in a different generation. And so I'm able to look back and see how God was faithful through all of those hard years that I thought I would never get back. I would never get through. I would never make progress. I can see that God was taking little steps, baby steps through all those years to bring me now to where he has me, where he's using me in a way that I never, ever would have imagined 10 years ago or 20 years ago that he could do. So it's been a great journey with him.
That's really wonderful. And I can resonate with a lot of that story. First, just the fact that someone poured into you and someone wanted to see you thriving and walking closely alongside with Jesus. I think that is so important. And we as women have got to be willing to accept help when someone is maybe in the next season above us and they're willing to just walk alongside of us. Let's not be prideful and say that we don't need it. We do. We need people to pour into us. And then also when we get the opportunity for a younger girl that is going through a similar season than that we did, maybe a couple years back, it's our opportunity to not be, sometimes we think we're not enough. We think, what do we have to offer this person? And why would they want to spend time with me? Sometimes fear just kind of floods our minds and we think, oh, we're not spiritual enough or we're not this enough. But if God's bringing someone in your life that is looking up to you and they're looking to spend time with you, I would just pray that you would just ask God for the strength where you are weak. And then when someone wants to pour into you as well, that is a huge blessing. And let's not take that for granted. And for me, my story was kind of similar in a way that I didn't feel equipped to minister to or mentor or anything with women, because I kind of grew up, I'm a little bit more the tough grace kind of girl, and I definitely am more on the blunt side, and a lot of women are more sensitive, so it's harder for them to hear some of these truths that I just thought was, black and white, and they're like, that is really harsh, Lexi. So I've learned through the years how to kind of use that and hone in on more empathy and less just straight shooting. But I've also seen God be able to use my boldness in ways that is unique to me, and that as long as I'm constantly going to him and making sure it's not coming from a prideful place, then he's been really blessing it, and I'm thankful for that. And I've kind of gone through more of like a pendulum swing of, I started with always telling people exactly what I thought and not caring what they thought, to a couple years ago just leaning way more in the tiptoeing around people's feelings phase of, I know I can be a lot. I know I can be, and the Enneagram has been really good for me because it's kind of helped teach me what to put words to the gifts that I have in a kingdom way, but also to see what an unhealthy, I'm an 8-wing 7. So the 8 is very blunt and bold and fearless, and they're usually leaders. And then the 7 is kind of someone who's extremely passionate and really idealistic, and they're also dreamers, and they're really pretty fearless. So I think both numbers are bold, fearless, and kind of down for the adventure and down to hopefully encourage and inspire others. But when they're unhealthy, they can be controlling and they can treat people like they know what they're talking about. So it's just been a fun journey to figure out kind of how God is using all of this and constantly refining me as one of his girls to, how can I best serve the kingdom through these gifts. So do you know your Enneagram number? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, I have actually been working on it a bit. I'll be honest. I'll be 100% honest with you. I did it because I was tired of being asked and having to say, no, I don't know it.
There you go.
So I did the work, and I think I'm a 3, probably a 3-wing 2, which means that, I do feel like, I'm attracted to success. I have clearly defined goals. I like rewards and recognition. And I really hate if somebody thinks I'm not credible. They don't believe me. I often say that information is my love language. Like, if you want to make me feel really special, tell me a secret that you didn't tell anybody else. And so I love to gather information, but then I think the two part of me wants me to share the information. And so I love to connect people. I love to, like, if I see somebody who has a need and somebody else can meet it, I love to make those connections and enable them to succeed. So I think that's a part of all of that. So yeah, I'm working on really understanding how to use it and make better use of it. But I'm pretty sure I'm a 3.
Yeah, that sounds about right. My husband is a 3 too, so no wonder I love you so much. I love 3 2s and 2 3s. For whatever reason, our personalities just work so well together. And not to say that I don't love my relationships with other numbers, but really, really, really love my relationship with 3s, because they are, I think 8s and 3s sometimes have some overlap in their strengths. Right. and achievers. The 3 is the achiever and the 8 is the challenger. So they're both very growth oriented and they want to see the best results. So they are usually the go-getters. They're the ones that are leading. They're the ones that are achieving. And as you were explaining yourself, I just heard a lot of my husband's strengths in there too. He is, I would say, like, when it comes to information of like telling him a secret, he's a steel trap, and he is just so loyal to the things that people have confided in him about, and he really just wants to see people just really doing well in life. And actually, before this interview, we were just chatting about if he were to write a book. He's a phenomenal writer and hasn't done much in the past couple of years, and I think God's kind of stirring in him some things. And he was just talking about how he just wants to help people live well and live healthy lifestyles, and how people can set themselves up for financial success in the future from a young age and different things like that. And so very much you two have a lot of common strengths, which is really neat. And I think you've got a good grasp of it. I think that there's always more to learn about these different personality tests, but I think what I love about the Enneagram is it's kind of what you make of it. And you could do a online free quiz, and then you can either it resonates or it doesn't, and so you kind of take it for what it is, and then it either is helpful and a tool that you can use to help strengthen your relationships, or it's something that, this is just something that people are getting all hyped up about. And at first I was in that category. I was like, I do not see the point of all of this, and now I really love to learn about people. So
yeah, I think that was one of the reasons that I was slow to gravitate to it, because I did try some of the online quizzes and they all gave me different answers, like completely different answers. And so that really frustrated me. But when people started telling me, quit taking quizzes, just read about them, just read about the different types, and one of them will pop out and resonate with you. That's really how I narrowed in on it. So I've heard a few people say the same thing, that you kind of have to, it will grab you, because that was what happened to me in the first time. I think it was maybe told me that I was, potentially even a 1, which is not even near my personality. And I was reading it and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I think that as you kind of take it more and read about them, then you can kind of be like, oh yeah, this one jumps off the page for sure. So as we kind of come to a close, I want to know, what are you most looking forward to in this season? I'm really looking forward to continuing to work with my mastermind girls. They've just gotten a place in my heart, and I'm excited to see what God does with them. I'm also kind of going through a season right now where, like I said, for 4 years, I've been really pouring in to my audience and to my target woman. And I've been doing coaching and offering courses and different things all along. But now I'm really making a shift in my mindset from one of being, of a blogger giving information to really being a business. And so I'm going through, I refuse to call it a rebranding, because that just sounds way too overwhelming and I don't have time for that. So I'm calling it a refresh of my brand and my website. So I'm really excited about that, and seeing how that has helped my mindset, because it is still all about serving. It's about, my mission from the beginning, when I prayed about the whole thing and asked God, what do you want me to do? What he has said over and over was, serve my girls, serve my girls, serve my girls. So it's all about serving, but it's also a business. And so to begin to approach it with a bit more of a business structure, a business mindset, and still do it in an authentic way that serves his girls, is an exciting challenge that I'm grabbing onto right now. So I'm excited about that season coming up.
That's great. And I love that, just changing the wording of brand refresh versus brand change, or, it's just things like that really can help our mindset. And so that's really encouraging. And one thing that I love about your business is that you want to be affordable, because you want women who are launching businesses to be able to have these resources without some of the price tags that come with some of these coaching companies, and also the accountability group, just to open up the doors for women to experience this in community. So I would encourage you, if you do not win the giveaway, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to Christa and see if there is any way that you can fit into one of her groups or her coaching or different things that can possibly help sharpen your business. I know that I'm going to be using her resources very soon. I'm kind of on this winding down. I've got 9 weeks till my little girl makes it into the world, and then I'm going to take a couple months off, and I will be doing like an every other week summer series, and I'm really excited about that. But I'm getting all of this stuff done before, so I can really, really be with my family. And then once I feel like my body and my mind is ready, then I'm going to be calling Christa and getting us on the same page so that I can use some of her services, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, ladies, just to remind you about the giveaway, it's an accountability package that is $100 value. It's a 1 month kind of a coaching accountability service where you get 1 month, 45-minute call with Christa, and then 4 follow-up emails weekly to kind of check in with those goals that you set with her. So if that sounds like you, go to doanewthing.com/passionate. doanewthing.com/passionate, and I will put that in the show notes as well. Christa, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your wisdom and your love for God's girls. I love that you talk about us like that. I'm putting myself in that category, and that you just are so willing to share your gifts, skills, and talents for the kingdom, and it's really special. And I'm glad to have you in my life now.
Thank you so much. I appreciate so much getting to know young women like you, women in your generation who are, not putting serving God on the back burner while they raise their families, and that you're out there speaking to your generation to know that they can serve God and serve their family well in both places. So I look forward to supporting you in your ministry, and be praying for you as you bring that new little God's girl into the world in the next few weeks, and just look forward to connecting with you some more.
Awesome. Ladies, you are infinitely valuable. You are created with a unique set of gifts, skills, and talents, created by God for His purpose and His glory. So go and be His hands and feet to this broken world. Get it, girl. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. If this message has encouraged you, then please click to subscribe and share with a friend who may be inspired by the message. Also, if you have an event coming up and you're looking for a speaker, click the link below to get in touch with me.